Good afternoon. My name is Laura. Thank you so much for joining us today during our virtual open house. I am the admissions advisor for the Sport and Performance Psychology and for the Clinical Mental Health Counseling program. So welcome today. So we will have today an informal conversation with Dr. Sara Castillo. She is the program director of our SPP programs. Please keep in mind that you are in listen-only mode. So if you have any questions at any point, please start typing them in the Q&A box and we'll just try to address as many as we can during this session. If after the open house, you happen to have still questions about the program or the application process or anything that was not addressed during this session, please just feel free to go in our website, click under Connect with Admissions virtually, and then schedule a one-on-one advising appointment with me. I'll be happy to either address the question or redirect the question to the appropriate person. So let's start. So thank you, Dr. Castillo, for joining us. So this is the schedule and the audience is yours.
Excellent. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for checking us out. I appreciate you all being here. One of the big things that I want you guys to notice is the background behind me here. If at any point you guys get stressed out by what I'm saying, or it seems like way too much information, feel free to push me out of frame and just focus on the very calm waves rolling in on the shore. This is also an indicator that I'm based down in San Diego. So you and I will have a similar experience. I've been running programs and teaching online for a very long time. And so I think I've got a pretty good handle on how we can make these programs as useful for you as possible. Just a bit of an introduction of me. I have been doing sport and performance psychology work for about 25 years. I finished my graduate education at the University of Idaho back in 2000. I spent 9 years after I graduated working at the United States Military Academy. That's our military academy for the Army. It's out in West Point, New York. That was really the first place that I knew and recognized that sports psychology was not all that we could do. It wasn't just about athletes. There are so many opportunities to tie the principles that you'll learn in our programs to performers who work in and out of sport. I spent 9 years at the military academy working not only with athletic teams, but with the Corps of Cadets, the undergraduate students there. I was able to work with the military units that were actually stationed at West Point, as well as with the leadership at the institution. After leaving West Point, I came back and worked at National University, and that's where I really got my feet wet and all of my chops together on running an online program. I ran the online undergraduate degree in sports psychology and created the master's degree in performance psychology at NU. Coming here, I think, has been fantastic in that it gives me a huge opportunity really to focus on graduate education and make sure that our programs are designed so that we're really creating the type of practitioner and the type of researcher that we need in the field right now. In my other roles, I am the sports psychology consultant for US Paralympic Track and Field. I am also an assistant coach of a local college volleyball team here in San Diego. That means that in addition to kind of helping to structure the program for our new practitioners, I'm still practicing. And I think that is important as well, to make sure that I continue in my efforts to give you guys the best program possible to really stay current in not only what the research says, but in how everything transfers into that applied practice. Finally, I'm on the executive board of the Association for Applied Sports Psychology. I'm the professional standards division head, And that gives me a whole lot of oversight over one of the most important programs that we have nationally for sports psychology. That is our Certified Mental Performance Consultant certification. That's something that has been important to me since I finished my education. It's been something I've been involved in since I became a professional. In one way or another, I've been involved in setting the standards for certification, managing academic programs that lead to certification, and really kind of restructuring what we want from our young professionals as they enter the field. So that being said, let me give you a little bit of insight into how our programs at Western States are structured. One of the things that you'll notice in our programs is that if you compare them to other programs, you'll see that the design is really specific. We offer a master's of science in sport and performance psychology. We offer an EDD in sport and performance psychology. And we also have just created an integrated doctoral degree that will offer not only a master's in clinical mental health counseling, but also a doctorate in sport and performance psychology. I think that puts us at Western States really far ahead of a number of programs in the country, making sure that depending on your educational pathway, depending on what you want to do in your career, you have an option with us here at Western States. In our master's program, we've designed the coursework to fulfill the coursework requirements for the CMPC certified mental, that's a lot to say, certified mental performance consultant requirements. So you'll be able to come through, take your courses and electives in such a way so that when you graduate, you're ready to get out into the world, collect those mentorship hours, sit for the exam, and then start practicing as a CMPC. In our doctoral program, because it's a longer program, you'll have the opportunity to complete a culminating experience with us that can also help you to earn those mentorship hours that will be required to earn the CMPC in that way. When it comes to who's a good fit for which program, if you're a student who is looking to practice and get out into the world immediately as a CMPC, and your goal is to work specifically with performers on areas of performance enhancement, on areas of performance intervention, then you're really able to look at either our master's in sport and performance or our doctorate in sport and performance. It's important for you to know that at the master's level, it truly is designed as an applied practitioner degree. At the doctoral level, again, you'll have the opportunity to really learn a whole lot about sport and performance, but you'll have much more in-depth opportunities to apply it to additional careers outside of sport and performance psychology. So if you're in athletics, if you are in an athletic administration, if you coach, if you're sort of retooling your career, coming back to school after a while in a different career altogether, that doctorate in sport and performance may be exactly what you're looking for. Within that, you'll see on the screen here, we have 2 concentrations in the doctoral degree. The first one is our individual studies concentration. And that one is really designed for folks who want to either teach or practice in the area of performance enhancement and sport and performance psychology. So you'll be able really to dive into some of the psychological basis of performance, be able to diversify the electives you're taking to really figure out all of the systems that impact a performer. Those include courses like biomechanics or XPhys, exercise physiology. They may also include courses like motor learning or psychology and performing arts. There are really an extensive set of electives to help you tailor that individual studies concentration to any area in which you'd like to work. The second concentration in our doctoral program is the positive leadership and administration. This is really designed for folks who want to use that doctoral degree in service of a larger career in athletic administration. A good number of our students come in as folks who used to coach and are now sort of running athletic programs, directors of local YMCAs, et cetera. And so the positive leadership and administration concentration is a way that you can really kind of integrate all of that sports psychology content with a way to, with your current career path to really integrate those principles into an overall organizational structure. When you enroll, one of the very cool things that Western States has for you is a devoted student services staff, specifically for online students. So not only are you part of our program, but the support network around you is really there, understanding sort of how you're going to be progressing through the program, what types of things you'll need, what types of concerns have come up in the past, and they're really very well versed in serving an online student population, which is just awesome. On a side note, we're actually, Western States is hiring one more person specifically for the online piece. So the university is really investing in our online students and in particular our program. So it's very, very cool. One of the other opportunities or things that we'll ask you to do, we have particular planners. So if you decide that you come in and I'm a master's student and I want to take 2 courses every quarter, we've got a planner designed that can really schedule out, hey, these are the courses that we'd like you to take, and this is the order we think is going to be most important for you. We've got those planners designed for our master's program, our doctoral program, and our integrated doctorate as well. So you're certainly able to kind of see what your whole coursework plan is going to look like all the way through your program. You certainly have access to all of your faculty members. I'm here and available at any point, but you met Laura at the beginning of our open house today. Laura is also available for you. There she is, on a moment's notice, anytime you need anything. So the support network around you for any of these questions is certainly a unique characteristic. While I'm saying that, Laura, if you see questions that I should be stopping for, please let me know.
Actually, thank you so much, Dr. Castillo, for just giving us such a wonderful overview in regards to the program structure, what to expect, and then really just sort of like explaining so consistently the differences between the concentrations and the specializations. And one of the questions that somebody from the audience has is in regards to this distinction between a PhD, like what is the difference between a PhD program, let's say in psychology, and PsyD, or a doctoral degree specifically in psychology, not a PhD, and then this EDD program. So we have, for a number of times when I have advising appointments, I come to explain that truly the EDD is a combination or an integration between praxis and also research. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So anytime you see a PsyD, that is going to be almost entirely an applied practical degree. Now, there's nothing good or bad about that. And let me back up a minute and tell you that the field of psychology, the field of sports psychology has come quite a long way in the last 20 years. If you talk to your parents, if you talk to professionals who have been in the field for a very long time, you'll hear that at one point, a PhD, an EDD, and a PsyD were viewed very differently in terms of the quality of degree. That's no longer the case. Now, really what we're looking at is the emphasis of the degree. That is really the difference. So a PsyD is a very applied practitioner type of degree. If you get a PsyD in psychology or clinical psychology, the vast majority of your experience and the focus of your culminating experience is going to be in earning supervision hours in work with clients. That PsyD degree will almost never include a dissertation, but will largely include portfolio projects or supervision experiences that will integrate all of the material that you've learned. A PhD is exactly the opposite of that. A PhD is very much a research degree. And so in a PhD program, you'll be doing, you'll be doing a dissertation, a very large research study. And that the goal of a PhD program, in addition to helping to train you in terms of practice, is really going to be to make you an independent researcher so that you're able to investigate the topics of the day, trying to figure out what types of things make a difference in the field of study you've chosen. In psychology, a doctoral degree, a PhD, will put you front and center into sort of extending the knowledge base, trying to figure out how different theories or different therapeutic techniques are effective among different populations, et cetera. That's a very long explanation. An EDD, like Laura said, is very much sort of a combination of both. And you'll see that in our program. An EDD gives you all of the sort of background and theoretical understanding of a discipline, and then offers you the opportunity to take that into either a very heavy research focused place, which is why we have our dissertation option, or an applied direction. So all of that theory is being integrated with applied practice, and that would be part of our mentorship option. Laura, does that help?
Yes, thank you so much. That is a wonderful explanation. I believe the next question is a little bit along the lines of the program structure of our program. So somebody from the audience is asking specifically how the engagement in the classes work. Like, what is the amount of work that is expected from students? Are there live lectures happening? And if those are happening, attendance is required or not? And then how available is faculty for students in the online setting?
Perfect. So all fantastic questions. It's interesting that online education has gotten so much more well-known. Certainly, I mean, the pandemic has helped, right? But there have been a whole lot of improvements specifically through COVID in everybody's plans. Western states is very lucky in that, you know, we've been doing this for a while. The programs have been around for a long time. And so when you're looking at online graduate degrees, particularly in sport and performance psychology, the length of time that Western states has been doing it has actually given us some pretty good advantages. First, to your first question about the level of engagement and the requirement, you should consider an online course as requiring at least the same amount of work as a traditional on-ground course. So for those of you who are in a semester program or who have been in a semester program, you'll remember that those courses were 3 hours each. And if you were like my semester programs, that meant that 3 hours a week is when you were required to spend time in class. So I would have a class Tuesday and Thursday from 3 o'clock to 4:30. And so in order to earn those 3 credits, I was expected to spend 3 hours a week of class time for each week of the semester. For those of you who recall more of a quarter system, you'll notice that that's a bit different, and your courses were worth 4 or 4.5 credits each. same system. You'll be required to spend 4 or 4.5 hours in class each week. Now, in an online situation, you have access to the material in your courses 100% of the time, 24/7. You are always able to get in, look at the readings, review any lecture material, contribute to discussion boards and discussion threads, etc. So you've always got that access to sort of be in class. But it's going to be important that you recognize, in order to be successful, you're going to be expected to be working on class materials at least 4 hours a week, because UWS is on a quarter system. Each of our courses is worth 4 credits. Now, remember, when you're back in your on-ground programs, that those 3 credits were only based on the time that you spent in class. So any studying you did, any additional readings you had to do, any notes that maybe you transcribed, that was additional time. And so I want you to consider an online course in exactly the same way. We're anticipating that you're going to be spending about 4 hours a week navigating through the course and getting some of those required assignments done. But that's not going to account for study time for exams, etc. In terms of, are there synchronous or real-time chats and events? Right now, we ask that every instructor we have in every course we offer spend at least a couple of hours 3 times per quarter in a mandatory sort of online, please be present session. Those are designed for a couple of reasons. First, we really want to make sure that students are grasping the material, are able to interact with their classmates in an in-person setting. If you come in the fall quarter, if you come in during the summer, if you come in during the spring, chances are you're going to be in class with a lot of those same people again and again and again. That's a really strong way. Having these in-person sessions is a really good way that we can get you to build that sort of collegiality, build those professional relationships that you'll have all the way through. And that being said, some of our instructors enjoy having weekly sessions where they're sort of available and there, and students can drop in at any moment. Some of our faculty do that on a voluntary basis. There are a couple of courses later in the program where there will be, weekly or every 2-week meetings for you to come in, check in. And again, these meetings are really designed around the intensity level of the material you're learning. Finally, let's see, what was the last one? Uh-oh.
Yeah, so basically, I think you addressed all of the questions. I think that the last question was a little bit more in terms of the live lectures, like if there were live lectures happening and if attendance was required, and you answered that. So,
excellent.
So that's totally fine.
Cool.
I think our next question has to do with the next talking point, which is what is the certified mental performance consultant? Most people are not aware of this particular certification and why it's so important in the field of applied sports psychology. So if you want to just to tell us a little bit about the certification, what the certification is, why it's important, the certification, and how our degrees can help students meet their requirements for the certification.
Perfect. So as I said, I'm sort of old in the field now, having done it for a while. And what I can offer you is that sports psychology, performance psychology, is a very young field. And what that means is that we're still trying and getting closer all the time to figure out what it really takes to be a qualified practitioner. What does right look like? And so I'll ask you a question here. So if any of you decided that you needed to go to the doctor, my bet is that one of the first things that you look for when you walk into that doctor's office is the license that they have on their wall, right? Let me see your license to practice. And any doctor's office that you go into will actually have their license to practice right there on your wall. It's the same thing with a licensed psychologist. You will always be able to see visible in their office that license to practice. One of the things that's been interesting about sports psychology is that so far in the field, we haven't necessarily taken that route, right? So you would never go to a doctor who wasn't a licensed practitioner. You would never go to a psychologist who wasn't a licensed clinical therapist, because we know how important that competency is to successful practice and actually your physical and mental health. So the certification, the Certified Mental Performance Consultant credential, is actually sports psychology's only national credential that signifies competence in sport and performance psychology. So even if you're a licensed psychologist, which is a fantastic accomplishment, it does not mean that you have the particular training and expertise necessary to practice performance psychology in the world with athletes and performers. Remember that we're talking about something that's very unique to clinical psychology. Let me offer that clinical psychology is a way that we restore human performance to what we consider normal levels. Sports psychology, sport and performance psychology, is on the other end of that curve. Essentially, we have individuals and performers that are doing just fine. And what the interventions and the certified mental performance consultant goal is to extend beyond what's normal into what's exceptional. And so having that competency and creating that certificate, that certified mental performance consultant credential, is a really important way to do that. So the certification through the Association for Applied Sports Psychology has actually been around since 1992. But recently, back in 2017, it has been revamped. It is a nationally accredited certification now that actually adds quite a bit of validity to it. You'll be completing coursework, completing supervised experience, and passing a national level exam. Much like the way you would be approved to be a strength and conditioning coach, CSCS, a board certified athletic trainer through BOC. There are plenty of sort of analogies to go all the way through. Really, the key is to make sure that our sports psychology professionals are performing competently, and that the athletes and performers that we're working with are getting the best services possible. And so knowing that, the graduate degrees at Western States have really tried to structure our curriculum and organize the classes that you're taking so that you're achieving all of those benchmarks that professionals have identified as essential. I won't bore you by telling you how you make a certification. But the idea is essentially you ask people who've been practicing in the field a very long time, what do you do? What do you need to know? What knowledge do you have to be successful here, to actually make a difference in performers' lives? And once you get that information, you design a curriculum around it so that we're making sure that our students actually have those skills that are needed and necessary. And so that's how Western States has structured the program. We've worked really hard to make sure that we're up to date on those standards. Not only that, but again, I mentioned my sort of connection to certification. So not only do the folks at Western States know where certification has been and where it is now, but I get to have a little bit of insight into where certification and where the field is going. And because of that, I think Western States gets to move a little bit faster, a little bit more quickly into what's required now and what's going to be required.
Thank you so much, Dr. Castillo. So the next question is also about the CMPC certification, and this particular attendee is asking if you can start meeting the requirements for the CMPC certification while you are in the master's program, or at what point in between degrees you can start meeting the requirements?
So coursework requirements are things that you'll be meeting during your degree all the way along. And certainly you'll be able to, I'll say, collect those sort of on the way. So every semester, every quarter that you're with us, every time you're taking courses, you'll be able to sort of check off those coursework boxes. In terms of the mentorship experience, that's really going to vary by student and by your opportunities. So as an example, if you're coming in straight from an undergraduate degree, chances are that the mentorship experience, the culminating experience we have in your degree, will be one of the first times that you're able to connect with athletes and begin working in that setting during your master's program, during your doctoral program. However, many of our students have actually come to earn a degree while working in the field. So I'll give you an example. A past student I've had was one of the performance consultants for the Boston Red Sox. And although he had his undergraduate degree in psychology, he was a professional baseball player for a while. And when he stopped playing, he was hired on by the organization to work with the players in terms of kind of helping them overcome those performance issues that he was so talented at overcoming in his own play. But after he had been there a couple of years, the Red Sox organization really recognized, wait a minute, you know, he's really nice and we really like him and we like the work that he's doing, but we need to make sure that he's actually passing on the right information. And so the organization actually paid for his master's degree in sport and performance psychology. But he had an amazing opportunity. He was already in a position where while he was completing courses in his degree, he was already sort of working in the field. Now, I know that sounds like sort of a dream scenario, but it's more common than you think. I'm sure that at least someone in this room has an opportunity right now, is working in a place right now where this degree is going to be very, very helpful, but the population is ready-made. You're already there. When it comes to kind of basic information about when you can start working, it would be my suggestion that you get at least 50% of the way through your coursework before you start experiencing some of those pieces. And again, the doctoral program has that mentorship opportunity all the way at the end, but you will always have access to faculty in terms of sort of asking questions, trying to be connected with individuals working in the field. I hope that answers that so far.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Castillo. So the next question has to do with our graduate certificate in applied sports psychology. So one of the attendees is interested in knowing if this graduate certificate will help to fulfill the CMPC requirements, or what is intended to.
Perfect. So the certificate program at Western States it's a very cool thing. It's one of those things that not everybody has access to, but it really does help to fulfill those CMPC requirements in a very real way. Now, I want to caution that simply completing the certificate will not complete all of the CMPC requirements. There are 8 coursework requirements and the mentorship. The certificate at Western States is only 6 courses long. So the assumption is that our students will either come in with a prior degree that has met a couple of the requirements. Perhaps somebody went out and has a master's in counseling. So if you're coming with a master's in counseling and you want to earn the CMPC degree, the certificate is a great way to do that, because some of the courses in your prior graduate program will certainly meet requirements that are needed for the CMPC. However, one of the things that I really want to put out there is that one of the requirements to become a certified mental performance consultant is to have a graduate degree in a field that is closely related to sports psychology. And what that means is that not every student with a prior graduate degree will be able to complete the certificate and apply for CMPC. If you have an MBA, if you are a business major, that's not closely related enough to sports psychology for you to be able to get certified with just the certificate courses. In a situation like that, where you have a graduate degree that's not related to sport and performance psychology, your best option is to either enroll and get a second master's, or to roll that into the doctoral program, where you'll get all of the courses and the opportunity to do that mentorship, to do that additional supervision work. The purpose of the certificate on the second side, you'll be able to take a number of courses toward CMPC, certainly, but the certificate is also great for people who just want to really expand their education. If you're a coach and you've been coaching for a while and can't quite figure out why some athletes are one way and some athletes are another, and some are so easy to motivate and some are much more difficult to motivate, if you're just looking for a way to kind of expand your knowledge of the field, if you're a parent of a young athlete, the certificate is a great option. If you're a coach or an administrator and really interested in looking at sports psychology, the certificate is a great option. If you finish your bachelor's degree and you think sports psychology might be good for you, but you're not quite sure, the certificate is a fantastic option. Just to kind of dip a toe in and see what the quality of graduate work looks like, and whether it's something that you're super passionate about.
Thank you so much, Dr. Castillo. So the next question has to do with, are there any other certifications that are important for people in the field of applied sports psychology to keep in mind?
I really think it depends on what you want to do. So if you are like me and you're really passionate about helping someone move from the sort of consistently good performance to exceptional performance, then really your education and your certification as an MPC will really lead you in that direction. However, there are plenty of fantastic sports psychologists out there who work not only on the performance side, but on clinical issues. And with athletes, that may be things like not just performance anxiety, but sort of generalized anxiety disorder, eating disorders, clinical depression, etc. Those sorts of mental health issues that crop up in athletes just like they crop up in anyone else, right? I mean, the athletes are a very talented subset of the population, but in general, the same percentages of mental health issues show up in athletes and performers as would show up in the general population. And so if you have the goal to work not only with performance, but also with clinical or restorative issues, then you really want to combine that CMPC credential with a mental health credential. Now that can either be in our integrated doctoral program, the SPP with clinical mental health counseling. That's one fantastic way to do it. But you can also an MFT, a nationally certified counselor, et cetera, et cetera. So there are plenty of credentials out there that would be useful on the mental health side if that was something that you wanted to do. Me personally, that was never an area of passion for me. And so I intentionally did not become a licensed psychologist or earn any of those credentials, because I wanted to make sure that I was able to stay focused on the populations that were more exciting for me. This is not to say that clinical work is not unbelievably important and unbelievably necessary. It's just me knowing what I was good at and what my strengths are, and making sure that I really tailored my education to that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Castillo. So that takes us to our last talking point, which is in regards to the culminating experiences in our program, specifically in our non-clinical track for the individual studies or the positive leadership concentrations. So people in the audience want to know a little bit more about how do the mentorship experiences look like in practice, and also the dissertation process. How does it look like?
Sure. So we're able to, at Western States, give you an option between the dissertation, which is essentially a year-long research project into a topic you find interesting, fascinating, or will be incredibly useful in your future practice, or the mentorship series. And the mentorship is really collecting those hours and getting really tight supervision when you're working with populations of performers. You'll be able to select either one. Some of you may have the opportunity, because you are already a certified mental performance consultant, you'll be able to kind of select the dissertation simply because you've done all the mentorship needed to achieve that credential. Really, the purpose of a dissertation and that culminating experience is to help you become an independent researcher. So as you take courses throughout your program, you'll find interesting things that pique your attention, that really connect with you, that represent some of the experiences that you've had in your own performance. And the idea will be that a topic will kind of come and grab you, something that you're interested in, and you'll be able to really whittle down into a way so that you find a particular research question that can really advance the knowledge in sport and performance psychology. So you'll either be able to deepen the research, you'll be able to extend it to new populations. And one of the very exciting things about the dissertation process is that really, at the end of the process, there is no one on the planet who will know more about your topic than you. It's one of those places where you're so passionate about the subject and so passionate about the topic that the time it takes and the investment that you're making really does, it doesn't seem nearly as much work as you would think. It really is an area of passion and excitement in terms of, hey, I want to devote my attention and find these answers and really identify how I can use this to really extend what we know about performance in sport and performance psych. The mentorship side is a bit different. This is all, it's really designed to help you collaborate and cooperate with faculty, students, and the performers in your lives to move forward and really develop your skill, your competence in applied practice. So the design is that you will you'll move through the same year-long process, and each quarter, each part of the mentorship process, you'll be being supervised in your work with athletes. So you'll meet with a faculty mentor and collect hours in terms of what's happening, what interventions have you selected, what might be some concerns about that, really kind of moving out into a safer environment, applying some of the skills that you've learned, and really teasing out what could be done differently, what might you consider, how might you improve in the service delivery that you have. And the instructor in a mentorship experience really provides a whole lot of structure. So you'll have all sorts of questions to answer, cohort of colleagues to work with, other students in the class. And you can all sort of talk with each other about the experiences that you're having, the concerns that are coming up, and have general discussion about what does this mean in terms of how I need to alter things, how successful I'm being in this experience, and how effective I am right now as a consultant. Both the mentorship and the dissertation are unbelievably intensive experiences. And so it's it's really important for you to determine sort of how you want your career to go. So I was in a traditional program. I wrote a dissertation, but I wrote my dissertation on a college soccer team as they were being formed. So I was able to do a research study in a very applied situation. So I don't want you to think that choosing the dissertation means that you only want to be a researcher and that you want to work numbers and teach in a lab. You can certainly choose an applied dissertation route. You're still going to be doing a whole lot of writing. You're still going to be super passionate about the activity, but you can absolutely develop a study, develop that research in terms of an applied practice, something that I would like to introduce to a group of athletes or a group of performers that I'm working with. Again, the mentorship piece is truly designed to get you hands-on experience in the field when it's still in a relatively safe environment, when you can still be supervised, still work with colleagues and really have that cooperative effort in terms of learning and really starting to feel comfortable in applied practice.
Dr. Castillo, for just giving us this great overview. The next question is just finally about the Capstone Project. So the Capstone Project is one of the graduation requirements for our students in the master's program. So for those of you who are interested in the master's, even though there's no mentorship or dissertation, of course, in the master's, do have the Capstone Project as a culminating experience. So if Dr. Castillo can please explain us a little bit about what this is.
Absolutely. So the Capstone Project in our MS program is really designed to help you integrate all of the information that you've learned throughout your coursework into sort of a single project. And so what you'll be doing is essentially constructing and assessing a portfolio of work throughout your program. So throughout the master's courses, we'll ask you to preserve certain assignments, preserve certain documents. Many of them will be self-assessments. They may be sort of research projects, awareness projects, group activities, things that really kind of connect with a number of different ways of learning. And the goal of the Capstone Project is to have you sort of look at each of those particular projects that you've created all the way through your program and to really define sort of what does that mean about me in terms of my growth through this program, in terms of what I've learned, in terms of my professional philosophy. It's really a course designed to help you integrate what you've learned into an overarching kind of personal and professional philosophy of service. Figuring out how does what I've learned, how does the way that I've changed influence where I go moving forward.
Thank you so much, Dr. Castillo. So this has been really enlightening for all of us and for the audience. So for those of you who are still interested in applying, so please just stay tuned for the last portion of our conversation today. So thank you so much, Dr. Castillo, and I'll transition to the admissions presentation.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. So I'm just gonna go quickly to now that you learn what we offer here at UWS, and if you're still interested in applying, so what you should be doing. So we are currently accepting applications for the summer, fall, and spring 2022. So if you are already considering applying, so you can send your application for any of these three available terms. If you want to schedule a one-on-one advising appointment, you can just go in the website, look for Connect with Admissions Virtually, and then you'll find my name, Laura Urbano, and then you can just book the appointment at your most convenient time. You can also call us at 800-641-5641, and then just try to set up an appointment that way. But really, the application process is very easy, very simple. We try to make it that way to make it also accessible to all of you. So what we are looking for is for a clear articulation between professional, academic, intellectual goals in that personal statement that is anywhere between 250 words to 500 words between career goals and extracurricular activities. So if you have any more questions about how to present your personal statement, please just reach out to me. Dr. Castillo created a wonderful prompt that students could be addressing as they write their personal statement. We are also looking at transcripts, so please just plan to request and also submit official and unofficial transcripts so that we can expedite the admission process. But we're looking specifically at a 2.75 cumulative GPA, but if you don't have that cumulative GPA, but you have significant experience in the field in any way, just please reach out to me and we'll just talk about your qualifications and how to just go about that. We are very flexible in this requirement because we truly understand that a GPA is not indicative of the successful the success that you can bring as an applicant into our program, and also the expertise that you have from your life experiences. So just reach out to us and we'll just guide you through that process. We are also looking at 2 letters of recommendation. So those can come from supervisors, colleagues, or former professors. And this is very specific, the supervisors or colleagues piece for people who have been outside of school for more than 5 or 10 years, and maybe they have not had those contacts with professors for a long time. You can reach out definitely to people who work with you and know you firsthand and know that you have skills that will help you to successfully complete a graduate program. So that's totally fine with us. So the resume should highlight also your professional experience and also your educational background. Anything that you've done, like attendance to conferences, we would love to know more about you in that resume piece. And then, as I mentioned before, if you are an international applicant and you are interested in our program, our doctoral program, the non-clinical track, meaning the individual studies or the positive leadership and administration concentrations, are available for you. Absolutely. We just need something that is called a course by course evaluation. And what that means is that we will ask you to send your official transcripts from your institution abroad to a third party that will assess your credentials and will let us know if the degree that you completed abroad is the equivalent of a bachelor's or a master's here in the US. So if you have more questions about that, please just reach out to me and I'll send you a link and I'll explain and walk you through the process if it's a little bit sort of like hectic for you. Then finally, what we're doing is after qualified applicants have been reviewed in their file, what we do is we invite them for a personal interview with the director of the program or with a faculty member, where we will further assess everything that you have stated and presented for us in this initial application process. And then finally, for you to be a student in our program, if you get accepted, we are asking that you will show the commitment by paying the tuition deposit, which is $300, that will also be applicable towards the first quarter tuition. So that is sort of like an overview of our admissions process. If you have more questions about that, if you have questions about specific pieces in the program that were not addressed during this conversation with the program director, please just reach out to me. I'll be happy to connect you either with alumni or with current students. And we're just very happy that you took the time to just tune and stay with us until the end of this presentation. And again, thank you so much for attending, and we'll hope to hear from you soon. Bye-bye.